This is a tribute to Benedict Elide Odiase, passed on. The story of the Nigerian police and indeed music in the military or armed forces cannot be complete without the mention of the name Benedict Elide Odiase, an officer and a gentleman and one of the pioneers of music in the military in Nigeria. Benedict Odiase was the first indigenous band master of the Nigerian police band. He is also reputed to have written the music score of the current national anthem.
Apart from the national anthem, he composed a police march, which we normally play sometimes. He composed Akwenwani Geri. There are many that I can't easily remember.
Sobe is a small town in Edo State. It is in the northern part of the state in a local government area called Onwan West. But on August 25, 1934, this little town of Sobe was in Ondo State, and it is here on this day Benedict Elide was born. He had his early education in Sobe and Warri before enlisting in the Nigerian police force in March 1954. Unlike some of his peers, Benedict ironically joined the force solely to be a musician, not to carry guns. He was a child who was from a family of traditional musicians who inspired him early in life to love and cherish music. His journey to the police force was not an easy ride. Having lost his father on November 5, 1948, young Ben had to be raised by members of his extended family.
Ben Odiase was my first cousin. Ben Odiase's mother was my father's immediate elder sister. I heard my father brought him to Lagos in possibly the early 50s. We were kids then in our house in Okepopo Street in Lagos Island where we were born. And I believe he entered the police force there about maybe 1954, 55. I was a kid and from my father's house. As a child growing up, I was very, very proud of him. Each time he came to our house on the island with his police uniform, well done. And at that time, I was 5, 6, I had a fear of policemen. I used to run. If I see a policeman on the road, I would run away and that's so. I don't know why, but this man changed me because each time he came to our house, here was I, not wanting to see a policeman, running after him, carrying his heart and putting it on myself, and that's that.
The fortunes of Ben began to turn around when he obtained the General Certificate of Education Ordinary Level in 1960 as an external student of Wolsey Hall Correspondence College, London. In 1962, Odiase was nominated to read music at the Royal Military School of Music, Nella Hall, Twickenham, Middlesex, London. In 1964, he obtained the Associate of the Royal College of Music, ARCM, London. In 1965, he obtained the Nella Hall certificate. On arrival into the country in May 1966, he was posted to Enugu, where he established the Area Command Band for the police force before he was moved to Benin to reorganize the band in the then Midwest. In September 1968, Benedict Elide Odiase was appointed the first Nigerian director of music for the Nigerian Police Force Band. He took over from James Ball, an expatriate.
The expatriates were teaching us their own way of music. But when he came in, he now impacts our local music. Like the one we just played, the Akwenwane Geri, is pure Africans.
Did he write the song or just compose the music?
He wrote it. He wrote and composed the music. Yes.
Odiase went on to midwife the birth of the police band in many parts of the country. These include the police band in Ibadan, Jos, Maiduguri, Calabar, Ilorin, Sokoto, Makurdi, Akure, Yola, Abeokuta, and Katsina.
Ben Odiase, DCP retired, did a lot for the police band. He taught us, those I met in the force, he taught them. I can remember like the first person who he recruited from the Nigerian police, Nigerian School of Music, that is Colonel Olubabokun of the Nigerian Army. He was the first to be trained by him in the School of Music.
And it was Olubabokun who started the Nigerian Army Band.
The Nigerian Army Band. Then apart from that, he trained our sisters' band, like the Navy Band, like the Custom Band, like the Air Force Band.
He was excellent. You couldn't have gotten a better, trained officer in that field in this country, during the time that, he was around. And as you said, again, he also came out with this entertainment, section of the police band. And so, during, mess activities in the good old days, it wasn't those usual music that people associate with forces people. There was real entertainment music.
In 1979, Benedict Odiase became a Fellow of the Victoria College of Music. He has won several medals of honor: the National Service Medal, Republican Medal, General Service Medal, and the Nigerian Police Medal. This was crowned in 2001 when the then President Olusegun Obasanjo honored this distinguished music director with the award of Member of the Order of the Niger, MON.
As far as I'm concerned, it's worth much more than that, what they call it, that low national honors they gave to him. They gave to him. If I, were asked, what do you think? I would have said that give him a CFR, Commander of the Federal Republic. I think what he did, he deserved that. I don't know, probably they were looking at the rank he wore by the time he was retiring from the police service. But I think, when it comes to giving national honor, it should be much more than what your rank is or what your status in the country is. I think it should be, what have you done, for the country? What will people remember you for?
I do not think Nigeria was fair to late Ben Odiase. Yes, he was the first Nigerian military bandmaster. He was the first Nigerian director of music of the Nigerian police. And I remember during the war, 1967, I believe, when the war broke out. He was caught out in the then Midwestern state. He eventually came back to Lagos and found his way back onto his job as the director of music. He was at the middle rank of the Nigerian police for a long time before he was eventually promoted, I believe, to the CSP, Chief Superintendent of Police rank. He eventually got to the position of the Assistant Commissioner of Police, and I believe for several years he was in charge of the musical department of the Nigerian police, which he did not only handle very well. I believe he was involved in the training of so many other military people. Some of his trainees were from the Navy, excuse me, and the Army at that time. He did a lot. In that regard alone, I believe he deserved more than he got from the nation.
When the late General Murtala Mohammed came to power, patriotic fervor was strong among Nigerians. His death in a bloody military coup in 1976 did not in any way douse this enthusiasm. The Obasanjo-Yar'Adua administration continued in the same stirred. They picked a national anthem which they claimed lacked any Nigerian touch. Advertisements were then placed in national newspapers requesting for entries for musical composition for a new Nigerian anthem whose wordings were already in place but needed the music. Odiase did not get to hear or see these adverts, and so no entry was sent from either himself or the Nigerian Police Band. This alarmed the Federal Ministry of Information, who wrote Odiase asking why he or his men did not send any entry. Odiase rose to the challenge and sent an own entry. From a list of entries which included that of great Nigerian composers like Professor Akin Yuba and Professor Laz Ekweme, Nigeria's then Supreme Military Council picked Benedict Odiase's entry. Benedict got married to Theresa Apenosumi Ni Dokpesi, and they are blessed with beautiful children and grandchildren.
We first of all got in contact with Mr. Odiase in the year 1967 when he proposed to my elder sister. From there we went to Agenebode, did the traditional rites, came to Benin. From Benin, he was posted to Lagos as the director of music. And in 1968, he got married to my sister, precisely March 1st, 1968. Very young man, intelligent, police officer who had trained in England. And I will remember first director of music, Nigerian director of music.
Apart from God Almighty, my father was somebody I really looked up to. He was more or less a father to everybody, irrespective of where you come from. To me, it was more or less like my hero. He taught me a lot. And I never expected that he would go so soon.
I recall times when he was working in the police. The house was not too far from the office. And I'll always stroll from the house to the office, sit with him while he's doing his work. And he was always used to working late hours, late into the night, 7, 8. And there are times I'll just go there and just begin to make fun, just to try and make him relax a bit, especially when I know he's tensed and all that. And on one of such occasions, I think I went to him, I probably was about 12 then, and he was having a very serious meeting. And I just bounced into the office and I said, "I want suya." And my father said, "Benedict, I'm having a meeting." I said, "Daddy, I want suya." And I just burst out crying. So he just got up, carried me, went out, bought me suya and brought me back, and then put me on his lap while the meeting was going on.
He was someone that believed in your personal expression. He wasn't very, very dogmatic concerning what choice of career you choose. You must not be a lawyer, you must not be a scientist, you must not be an engineer. He wasn't that kind of person. More or less, he took out time to study some of our giftings from a very early age. I remember stumbling on his diary. He had this diary, and I was younger then. I was like, I came across everybody's names, and he had possible career interests attached to it. And by my name, I saw graphic artist. I was like, "Daddy, graphic artist, what does that mean?" And he was like, "You love to draw a lot. You always say, buy me pencil, buy me color books." I said, "That's why I believe eventually that you might eventually do that." And by the time I finished school, at first in secondary school, I went to a pure science class, and he was like, "Are you sure about this?" And I just said, "I think I just want to see how science is like." Eventually, I now went on to discovering myself, what he already knew before then, because he just let me be. And I eventually found out that I was better with my hands. I didn't enjoy the sciences that much. And he just said he knew, but he just wanted me to find out on my own. He wasn't a very difficult person at all. He wasn't.
I was very close to him. It was everything to me. We were so close. We shared everything together. We eat together. We joke together. We play together. We were very, very close, and he took care of me when I was very young. And I really missed him so much.
Benny. No, she was asking where is Benny. Okay. So give her the phone. Okay.
He was a family man, not only to his immediate family, but the extended family.
In his lifetime, the Dokpesi family never stopped trooping into his house, and he always welcomed everybody who came to his house. To the extent that my late dad, before he died, was always singing praises of late Mr. Ben Odiase as his best in-law. He was a wonderful person, I will say. I saw him after the death of my father as the father of the Dokpesi family because of his kind gesture to all of us. Not just us alone, but he was just a nice person to whoever came to him for any assistance.
I will never forget was when my father came from Abolade in the year 1972, 73. And right in the police college, he told my father, your son, my son, is proceeding overseas. He wants to be a medical doctor. And I'm telling you, he will come back successfully. It was his wish, and it was accomplished. That I will never forget.
I call him Grandpa because the children around me and everybody, we call him Grandpa. And I happen to be very fortunate to be very close to my father-in-law. In short, my father-in-law was as good as my father. In his last 5 years, I was really, really very close to him. And one thing that I find with him is quite amazing when it comes to personality reshaping influence that he has as a person. You know, as a composer of the national anthem, I've had occasion to say, oh, but Daddy, you seem to be very contented with your estate in life as a person. And how do you really feel that you have contributed immensely to something that is central to the national evolution of a country, and you don't seem to feel, people seem to are of the opinion rather that you haven't really been well recognized where you ought to. Look, I must tell you that the answer that Pa Ben Odiase has given me has personally shaped how I see national service and development. He would often say, look, Pius, it's a privilege that the nation has given me to have served.
His friends continue to have fond memories of him.
He's a man of discipline. He does not condone, we call it negligence. He just keeps to time. He's a timetable man, very courageous man. Though in family area of it, I think it's 100% all right. But when you become an adult, a lot of things happen along. But the man is a disciplined man. It does not take years for no. That's the man I know for. And when I tell you say 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock. For your own good, if you say 6 o'clock, you would have been there 3:30 to 4 o'clock before. All the years I drove, I've never get one fault from him. Because I know who he is, I read him so closely. So I did not fall into his hand one day. Until when he was going, we say, Jolly, all the years you work with me, I've not found fault for you. Keep it up, it's well with you. So it's a man I love, it's a disciplined person.
Well, around 1976, 77, I met him. And we've been together as friends with one other man, Mr. Adeniyi. I actually met him through Mr. Adeniyi, who is an educationist who lives in Eju now. And we became friends, and when the friendship grew further, and I think there are only 3 of these pictures. That was himself in the middle, Mr. Adeniyi and Mr. Adeniyi here, and myself here. And
Where was this picture taken?
That was on the 23rd of August 2003. Mr. Odiase's cousin, who was a chief in one of the suburbs in Lagos State, I've forgotten his name now, was having some ceremony. I think the daughter was wedding. Then he invited us, and then we all went there. And that was when this picture was taken. But it's a matter of just come in, just go out. Whenever he had time, he would come to us. And whenever we also had time to visit him, we would visit him. And unfortunately, I think that was in 1991, while conducting band, the orchestra in Abuja. He slumped, and he was brought down to Lagos. But he said, take me to my friend at Obanikoro. I used to run a clinic at that time, up to about 5-6 years ago, which we call Ajua Clinic. It's on that paper. And that is what I will always try as much as possible to remember about him. He was in the federal capital with all the paraphernalia of the health services in Abuja at that time. And he decided to come to Lagos. He was held on the shoulders of two policemen to enter my place. Because it's a small place. I live upstairs and we have a clinic downstairs. Then he came in, we admitted him, we started treating for whatever we thought we could do. But one thing that kept on vibrating in my mind, reverberating in my mind, was the fact that my clinic now, small as it is, in a corner in Obanikoro, off Ikorodu Road, was bombarded by the people in uniform, the police, with the flags, with the sirens and all that. And then it happened that people in the area were wondering, this man used to, we respect him in this area, he doesn't cause trouble, why now the whole place is full of police and all that? I later knew about that after about 3 weeks when Odiase left.
The police eulogize the man they call a hero.
Nigeria Police Band promised to keep the flag flying. I will never frustrate your legacy. Fabe, rest in peace.
For members of the Nigerian Police Force Band, Benedict Odiase was not just the first indigenous director. He was not just the one who composed the national anthem, or composed beautiful songs, or composed game anthems. He was an icon, and that is why even till time immemorial, they choose to always celebrate him. 63 Oregon Road, Lagos, was the residential building of this great hero. As friends, family and well-wishers come in to pay their last respects, it is obvious this house shall no longer fill or be the same.
Actually, my sister. Yes, that's the way it should be.
Benedict Elide Odiase is a man who not only put patriotism in our lips, but also put it in our hearts. He is indeed a Nigerian hero.